What is going on, people? I am here, if you couldn't tell by the title, for a different kind of video. This is my video for the top 10 reasons why I don't listen to or take Rotten Tomatoes scores to heart kind of deal. But not only Rotten Tomatoes, but a lot of these critics nowadays, because a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, I'm sure, you know, the movie fans, they don't listen to every critic that comes around. But nowadays, maybe the mainstream audience will look at that more and kind of judge by what they see the scores for that. I'll get into that, but before I do, if you haven't already entered, you got a few more days left to enter my 1,000 subscriber contest that I have going on. You can either win a $100 gift card to Amazon, or I just added a second $50 prize. So $50 Amazon gift card to the second place winner. So if you haven't already, check out the 1,000 subscriber contest that I have going on. You have until the end of February to enter, and yeah. So anyway, I really haven't done one of these top 10s in a while, and I've never kind of voiced my opinion on a lot of the critics nowadays. Rotten Tomatoes, to tell you the truth, I don't know exactly how it works. I don't know if, you know, one person can put a score up there and it kind of just sits at that score, or they take the average of what they think and the critics think. So I don't know exactly how it works, but there's a lot of movies on there that I think have a pretty low score that I think maybe people look at that and they're like, I don't want to go see this movie. Or, you know, a lot of these movies that I picked, that I went through and thought they had a lower score, or a lot of the movies from my childhood, so I'm a little bit more biased, but I still think there's a lot of movies on there that have horrible scores. And to tell you the truth, I mean, if I sat down and checked out or talked about every single one that I think had a bad score, then I'd be here for like a year and a half, because there's so many movies, and I think a lot of them have, you know, a lot going for them that some people might not see. But that's also my opinion. Everybody's got their own opinion. That's why if you check out my reviews, I don't give my opinion a lot, because my opinion differs from your opinion. So I try to keep my own tastes and stuff out. I kind of just give the plot with a little Tony-has-9 spin on it. So without further ado, let me get into this. Like I said, these are 10 movies that when I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, I think they had a very low score, and some of the explanations that some of these critics give are a little over the top and a little bit too cynical, and I don't know. So let me get into it. Let me show you what I'm going to go from number 10 being the highest rated to number 1 being the lowest rated that I think deserves more. Some of these really don't even have, you know, critic reviews or anything, and I guess it's just one person didn't like the movie and they gave it a, you know, a low score. So anyway, this one comes in at a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it says it has a lack of a story or lack of originality. This is an action movie, and to tell you the truth, nowadays action movies are kind of on the lowest part of my movie watching totem pole, because there's only so much you can do in an action movie. There's explosions, there's this, and the plot lines really don't, you know, extend past there's a bad guy, you're after the bad guy for some kind of reason, there's fighting, there's gunfire, there's explosions, there's this. The plot line really doesn't evolve from that very much. So saying that this movie, especially one of my favorites in the series and one of my favorites overall in the genre, kind of has a lack of story, it kind of goes with the, you know, with every action movie ever made, because there's only so much you can do. There's a, you know, a different subplot, but for the most part, bad guy, good guy, go after the bad guy kind of deal. Anyway, let me stop talking. This movie that has a 52% that I think needs a lot more is Die Hard with a Vengeance. That is, I think, the best Die Hard movie out of the collection, out of the bunch. It's got, you know, Samuel L. Jackson, who helps out. Bruce Willis from the beginning was a great one. I enjoy Die Hard fully. That's probably number 2. But I just think in my, you know, movie watching, and by the time I saw it, I was a kid. Die Hard with a Vengeance has a little bit more of a storyline, a little bit more fun. It kind of brings the audience in a little bit more. And I think out of the old plot lines, that one's pretty much the coolest. They have to run around trying to find this. You know, Die Hard, really good movie, but they're all stuck in the tower, and, you know, it's in one spot. Die Hard with a Vengeance, you're running around the city trying to find this guy, trying to, go through all these different challenges that the guy wants you to go through. I definitely enjoyed Die Hard with a Vengeance a lot more, I guess, than a lot of people did. So 52%, I think it deserves a little bit more. This one, let me see, I wrote everything down. This one comes in at a 38%. And one of the main gripes is it's made for kids, which, I definitely agree with. But they said a lot of adults will not enjoy this movie. Well, I guess, again, it's kind of a bias, and I watched this when I was a kid, so me being an adult now, I can still watch it. But I think, a family-friendly movie where adults will get into it too. And the movie that comes in at a 38% is Space Jam. To tell you the truth, it's not the most cinematic. A lot of these movies are not going to be, a blockbuster, breakdown that's going to just get so much money. But it's one of those movies, like I said, it's a family-friendly movie. It stars Michael Jordan. I was about to say Michael Jackson. That is not Michael Jackson. But supposedly he was supposed to be in this one. Anyway, or not this one. I forget exactly. Anyway, it is, again, a kid's movie, but I believe that adults could sit down and watch it as well. I believe if you didn't see it when you were young, I think now, if you pop this in, I think adults will enjoy it as well, because it's a multi-generational gap, I guess you want to call it, because Looney Tunes was around way before Michael Jordan even graced the NBA. So people from back then will kind of go with the Looney Tunes, and then people who watched basketball in the late 80s, early 90s will definitely go with Michael Jordan. And I think nowadays, too, if you haven't seen it, I'd like to think people would enjoy this still. So 38% for Space Jam, I think it deserves a little bit more. These next couple all came in at a 29%, and I think they deserve a lot more. This one came in at 29% because they said this is Joe Dante's, one of his least, I forget exactly how they put it, but they said this is one of Joe Dante's worst films, and I disagree with it. And that is, it came out a few years ago, and it's Burying the Ex. This movie stars Anton Yelchin, Alexander Daddario, and Ashley Greene. This is pretty much if you've ever seen My Boyfriend Back, kind of, well, not really along the same lines, but it had that vibe to me. But anyway, pretty much Anton Yelchin is dating this girl, Ashley Greene, and she's pretty much a horrible girl. I don't want to say horrible, but they're kind of fading apart, and Anton kind of wants to dump her. He runs into Alexander Daddario's character, and he kind of falls for her. Well, Ashley Greene's character ends up dying, but somehow coming back to life as a zombie, and now she won't leave Anton Yelchin's character alone. This, again, not the most new plot line. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of the My Boyfriend's Back kind of deal, but a 29%, and they said that one of Joe Dante's worst. I disagree with it fully. If you haven't seen it, I'd say check out Burying the Ex. This one's another 29%. A lot of these, like I said, are 29%. Not the greatest movie ever, but when I was a kid, I loved this movie. Me being a fat kid when I was younger, not many movies kind of dealt with that situation. Well, Heavyweights kind of brought it all to fruition. This one has no reason why it's a 29%. So I don't know why people really didn't like this movie. Again, is it going to win Oscars and stuff? No, it will not. It's impossible now because the movie came out in the 90s. But it's one of those movies where it's fun, it's entertaining. If you never saw it as a kid, could it hold up now? I'd like to think so, because I found it funny and it's entertaining enough. I think it can hold up, but if you didn't see it when you were younger, maybe that's the reason why the person gave it such a low rating, I guess you want to call it. But I disagree with it. I think Heavyweights, is a half decent movie, a 50% plus, because it's entertaining, it's funny. I think it deserves more than 29%. This is another one. This one here is a staple, I think, for a lot of people's Halloween time watching. I think a lot of people, Halloween comes around or October comes around, I think a lot of people are watching this movie. They were excited when they heard a second one was going to come out. I heard a lot of fanfare over it, but it still ended up getting a 29%. This one, they said that the star caliber in this movie, or a lot of the people that are in it, kind of lackluster. They don't meet their true talent or true potential, and I disagree with it. I mean, are they acting the greatest I've ever seen them act? No, but it's not really needed for this movie. You don't really need a cinematical or I didn't even know what word I'm looking for, but you really don't need a over-the-top acting for this. So I don't know what they were looking for from it, but Hocus Pocus is 29%. This is another movie I think a lot of people, love. A lot of people will watch this every October. Once Halloween comes, this is one that they will plug in all the time. Hocus Pocus, A Nightmare Before Christmas. So many movies from like a kid's movie are still ingrained in a lot of people's hearts. So I think Hocus Pocus definitely deserves a lot more than 29%. This one is another one that I think a lot of people love. One of Robin Williams' best movies. I actually have two movies of Robin Williams, if you couldn't see me hold it up. The movie is Hook, another 29%er, where, let me see if they, I forget. They said that it's directed on autopilot. It really isn't the greatest. I don't know what movie you're watching, because this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Hook brings Robin Williams as Peter Pan back to Neverland, where he left and pretty much didn't look back, totally forgot about it, needed a baseball to kind of jog his memory. But Hook, come on now. How many people that grew up in the 90s didn't love this movie and still do? I mean, I'm sure a lot of people still love this movie. 29%? Come on now. I think that's completely horrible, a horrible number for it. This one, they said it did not bring a emotional feeling to it, which I highly disagree. That's pretty much was the main gripe, that they said it wasn't very emotional. I cried at the one scene of this, and if you haven't seen it, I'd say definitely go ahead and check it out. It stars Juliette Lewis and Giovanni Ribisi. Diane Keaton's in it. It's about two mentally disabled people finding love, and that movie is The Other Sister. If you've never seen this movie, tell me that one scene where Daniel's going to check his score and he fails and he's all upset and he's in a freaking dog costume. Tell me that didn't bring tears to your eyes, or at least water to your eyes. Don't say that onion, you were cutting onions at the time. That scene definitely was one that, got me very emotional. There's a lot of scenes in this that, I felt for, I guess you want to call it. If you haven't seen this one, definitely go ahead. Giovanni Ribisi, one of the most underrated actors, I think. He's in that B level, but I think he deserves a lot more. Not in every single blockbuster, but his acting in his movies is great. If you haven't seen The Other Sister, go ahead and check it out. But at 29%, come on now, really? This one is one of the most surprising, and it's so 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. What movie are these people watching? They said it's a little too violent. It's not. Let me see if I wrote it down. Let me see what exactly they said. A juvenile, ugly movie is what they put. And everybody knows Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, but a lot of his fans know him from this movie. 20% for the Boondock Saints. Really? Maybe 20% for Boondock Saints 2, which I definitely dug, but a lot of people didn't. I can't see a 20% for that movie, but 20% for the first Boondock Saints movie, a juvenile, ugly movie. What? I don't know who the critics are. What movie are they watching? Tell me one person. I'm sure someone's going to come up here and say, listen, I don't like the Boondock Saints, but raise your hand now. I'll wait. How many people watch this movie and love this movie? So I'll wait. It'll take a while, because I'm sure a lot of people will be raising their hands. But 20% for the Boondock Saints? Come on now. Maybe they haven't seen it. They were kind of going, I'm getting so upset, I'm choking. 20% Boondock Saints, really? This one's 19%. I told you it's another Robin Williams movie. This one has a different feel to it. I don't want to say the exact opposite of Benjamin Button, because Benjamin Button came after this and it's completely different. This one's more of a kids movie, but Benjamin Button, he was born old and then he ages young. This one, he's aging very quickly. He's born. Jack is a movie, if you couldn't tell by the title, or what I'm talking about. Jack, 19%. This one has Robin Williams. It has Jennifer Lopez. It has a lot of people from, the childhood movies in this. If you haven't seen this movie, Fran Drescher's in this. 19%. Come on now. Maybe it's not going to get 100%. Not even in the 80s, 70s. At least 50%. Come on now. Like, these movies at least deserve a half of being a half good movie. 19%. This is a fifth of a good movie. Get the hell out of here, Jack. And then this one, I don't know how many people have seen this movie, but it's ridiculous. I'll tell you that much. But 5%. It's got 5%. This one was one of the movies when I watched. I was very young, didn't understand it. Watch it more now than I did when I was younger. But I remember liking it. It had a childish feel to it. Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Candy, Demi Moore. Then you have Tupac with the Digital Alliance in this. Come on now. Really? I mean, 5%. Nothing But Trouble. Have you not seen this movie? If you think that Nothing But Trouble, again, none of these are award winnings. I'm not saying give them 100% on the damn Rotten Tomato score. But 5% for this movie? 5%. If you've seen this movie, it's more entertaining than anything. Again, the plot line is completely out there. Well, not out there. I'm sure there's, crazy towns where the judge pretty much runs the town and he ends up killing people and stuff in a gigantic oil field of a property that's ready to explode at any given second, and he has a dick for a nose. If you haven't seen that part, then it took me a few times, but I'm like, oh, that's what everybody's talking about. But 5%, come on now. Like, some of these ratings, again, I don't know exactly how it goes. I don't know if it's the least amount of the less amount of critics, kind of make it that way. Maybe one person watched it, hated it, and gave it a 5%, and it doesn't change from there. I don't know exactly. I should look into it more. But those are the top 10 reasons why. I'm sure there's a lot of movies I agree with on Rotten Tomatoes, but those are the top 10 reasons or top 10 movies that I definitely disagree with Rotten Tomatoes. So many of them, people, like I said, I'm sure normal movie fans will look at the scores and be like, hey, listen, I totally disagree with you. I'm not going to listen to it. But I think a lot of mainstream people, especially the fact that you see a movie now and it's like a red tomato on the scale, and they'll print it right on the movie. I think a lot of people go by the Rotten Tomatoes scores or stuff they read in the newspapers or stuff like that. So me trying to just say, hey, listen, I'm sure, again, a lot of people don't listen to it, but if you're watching this and you're, a semi movie fan and you go by a lot of critics' stuff, don't. Because a lot of critics nowadays are a little too cynical, a little too crazy, a little too over the top. They're looking for way too much in a damn movie. I'm looking for I'm looking for something that keeps me entertained. I don't need the Oscar-winning performance. Does it help? Yes, it does help that, if you have a great, actor in it that puts this amazing acting ability on the screen, but I don't need it. I don't need the greatest. I just want to be entertained. I watch a movie. I'm either entertained by it or not. I'm not going to sit there. Does it falter certain movies? Yes. But not a lot of them. If the plot line's good enough, if the movie just goes, I enjoy it. Don't tell me it has to be this way, it has to be this. They have to look like this, they have to act like this to have a good movie. No, it doesn't work like that. But I'm getting heated before I get my face turns red and everything, which I'm sure a lot of people would like to see. Those are the top 10 reasons why, or the top 10 movies, or whatever, I don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes. If you agree with any of the movies that I'm talking about here, if there's movies that you believe have such a smaller score, I challenge you to do a video like this, or at least comment and say, hey, listen, you're right, or you're completely wrong. All those deserve the score that they get, again, a lot of people might not like these movies, and that's the reason why they got such a low score, but I disagree with the score. That's the reasons why. So, hopefully you like this. Hopefully you will enjoy more top 10s. I got a few more ideas coming, kind of going around in this head of mine. So, you'll see more of that. But hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, definitely hit that thumbs up. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Remember, you still got a few days to enter into my 1,000 subscriber contest. And check out the description for everything I talk about. Also, all my other social media. I got a Facebook fan page. I got a Twitter. I got an Instagram where I show off the movies behind me. I got a Horror Amino, Stardust app, a Snapchat. I'm part of Dorkening. Just look at everything that I have in there, and you'll see everywhere I'm at. Me, I love to share my love of movies, and that's why I do this stuff. So, you agree with me? Let me know. You disagree with me? Let me know. Either way, I love talking about movies. So, until next time, I'll see you guys.